Hello there and welcome to Writing Right. We write writing's wrongs. I'm your host, Landon Porter, aka Soulful Bard, aka Vol. You may know me around the internet for being the published author of such works as the Runebreaker series, The Descendants, or How I Married a Supervillain. And this show is a series where we're going to take some of the unsung heroes and unsung villains of the entertainment industry. That's the writers. We're going to take them to task, we're going to take their work to task, and we're going to dissect it and figure out what works, what doesn't, and why. If you're an aspiring writer, this will help you understand your craft better. Following this will make you a better writer overall. If you're just somebody that enjoys entertainment, this will help you better understand why you enjoy your entertainment, why some things don't work for you, or it'll help you understand something and it will make you like it better. Unfortunately, much like TV tropes, it could also ruin your life. Some things that you used to like, you're going to suddenly realize it's not quite as good as you thought it was. But the important thing is, we're going to talk about the bits and pieces of the entertainment that really don't get as much recognition as they really ought to. We always talk about the casting decisions, the directors, the cinematography, the visuals, the CGI, but not a lot of people give a lot of thought or really care and attention to who's doing the writing. Really, when you look at some of the best and some of the worst stories out there, whether they be movies, comics, television, video games, you name it, a lot of the problems are going to fall to the writers. Now, sometimes it's not entirely their fault because a writer is still somebody that works on the production with everyone else, and they may be, say, forced into doing something in a week where it really should have taken a couple of months. You know, that's the story behind a lot of the problems with video game stories is the producers, the company that's making it, really want to get these games out by, say, Christmas release, and they hand the story off to the writer in like September or even November and say, hey, have this ready so we can be shipping by Christmas. And at other times, it really is the writer's fault. I mean, if you did not like the direction of, say, Man of Steel or Batman versus Superman, that was David S. Goyer. That was his fault. He made choices that I'm actually, because this is the channel and this is how I'm going to do it, they were terrible. They were terrible choices. And he's going to have to own that. He may not think it was a terrible choice, but I think the reaction showed that, yeah, a lot of it was a bad decision. Maybe you disagree, maybe you don't, but I think we can all agree that what he thought was a touching and moving decision to make Batman and Superman realize that both their mom's names was Martha and that's why they should stop fighting was pretty dumb. I, but I mean, we're also going to talk about the good things. This is not a critiquing show. This is a show that is analytical. We're going to be talking about tropes. We're going to be talking about works. We're going to take them apart, and we're going to see all the bits and pieces. We're going to talk about that, about why writers do some of these things, because a lot of things, they've become so ingrained. They have become tropes unto themselves, and sometimes the writers are just following what they've been taught. Because we as writers get a lot of bad, terrible advice. People tell you write what you know, which is well and good if you're going to be writing normal drama about everyday slices of life, but not so much when you're writing about science fiction and fantasy. It can help. When they say write what you know, they really say it should be saying base what you write in what you know and increase what you know. If you're a science fiction writer, learn more science. There are a lot of exciting things that are happening right now. Um, Telomerase inhibitors. If you don't know what those are, and pardon me to go off on a tangent here, but inhibitor is a telomere is a little piece that goes on the end of your DNA, and as we age, it breaks down until it doesn't work anymore, and we start aging, and there's mutations, and that's why we kind of fall apart at the end of our lives. Telomerase inhibitors stop that from happening. That's right, we have found a way to turn off aging. We haven't perfected it yet, but we know how to do it. Those are the things that somebody should, if you know it, you should include it in your stories if you have a place to put it in. That's writing what you know the good way, instead of going, well, I live in Des Moines, Iowa, so I should set my story in Des Moines, Iowa every time I write a story. Maybe that could work, maybe it doesn't. But that's not what writing what you know should mean. Show, don't tell. Oh my goodness, so many people screw this one up because they don't understand when you should show and when you should tell. Sometimes you do need to tell, and some people, because of this terrible advice that's been going around everywhere, they are terrified of just telling the audience some information that they should know. These are the things that this channel is going to be about. Um, it's going to be a weekly show, and every week we'll have a topic, and I'll just talk about it freestyle. There's no script per se. Um, but we're going to talk about it, and I'll have the comments up. Sometimes I'll have to kill the comments because, well, there are a lot of people that have pretty terrible opinions on things, and I am going to get into some controversial subjects here. You know, things that shouldn't be controversial, but they're going to be. For example, there is going to be a show about the concept of the strong female character, and that would cause some fights. I'm just not going to have comments on that. You know, um, at the same time, I'm going to be occasionally I'll be doing spoilers. I really want to get into talking about the Flash and how, spoiler warning for the Flash, if you don't want to know, skip ahead a few seconds. But the Flash has managed to, the Flash TV show has managed to pull the same trick on the audience 3 times, and it still works. It's still a really good show, and we're going to talk about why it's able to do that. We're going to talk about, and we're going to talk about across all sorts of genres and mediums. We're going to talk about movies. We're going to talk, I want to talk about the new Guardians of the Galaxy movie because there's some really good writing stuff in there that we should talk about. But, you know, I am a comic book nerd at heart. I like fantasy. We're going to talk a lot about that, but we're going to talk about more contemporary things as well. We're going to talk about the classics. Um, Even though I think that a lot of classics are lacking, we're going to talk about it because that's something that we should talk about. We should talk about the good and the bad. When you were in high school English, you always heard that the classics were good because they were good, and that's all there is to it. Well, let's talk about what's good and what's bad. I mean, there are some very good classics, and there's some awful classics, and there's some classics that are should be classics, but they're classics for the wrong reason. Romeo and Juliet. Romeo and Juliet, I highly believe, is a comedy. Um, and we'll have that discussion too. I believe Romeo and Juliet as a comedy has nothing to do with romance at all. And we're going to talk about why it is a great comedy. Um, Stuff like that is what this channel is going to be about, and that's really why I'm doing this little video, to let you know what's coming up. If you have followed me on my site, this is the stuff that's on the blog. You're going to see some stuff rehashed. The first show next week is going to be about lull deaths, because I want to revisit that and talk about both good and bad shock deaths, because there are some actual good ones, even though there are so very many bad ones. Um, I want to talk more in depth about that. Um, I'm going to talk about comic relief characters. Everyone hates comic relief characters, but if you look back at some of the shows that have gotten a lot of praise, they have made excellent use of comic relief characters, believe it or not. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about so much, you guys, and it's going to make you understand and appreciate the media that you consume more. I promise you that. If you're producing media, it's going to help you produce better media. Um, Hell, I'm even going to talk about some web shows that I follow, some other people's channels. I don't want to start fights with them, but I've noticed a couple of things that I think could improve their channels. There's a couple in particular. They're, how do I say this, insulting their audience a lot. Um, and then we're also going to get into that, the relationship between the creator and the audience. You guys, I am a I am a showman in the sense of P.T. Barnum. You know, I am about entertaining. I am about showing you guys, engrossing people, bringing them together, uplifting their minds, and getting some pocket change out of it because P.T. Barnum was about the money. But there's a lot of people that really just want to manipulate their audience to force things upon them, and a lot of them just want to have a very abusive relationship with their audience. There's a lot of say channels about anime that make nothing but otaku joke after otaku joke, and they're really mean ones that are directed straight at the audience. Um, that's part of the writing. Even though I have not written down a script for this, this is writing right here. Um, I am making a conscious decision what I'm sharing with you, the information I'm giving you, how I'm presenting it. That is all writing. Um, and it's something we all need to learn to take better care of, foster better, because writing is a very powerful tool. Everybody talks about how humanity discovering fire was what changed us, what made us like the dominant species on the planet. No, it's stories. It's conveying information. That is what did it. Um, Before we made once Og, the creator of fire, made fire, he had to explain to everyone else how he did it. You know, fire wouldn't have meant anything if he couldn't disseminate the information, and that is what writing is. No matter how it's conveyed via speech, via audio, via video, via text, writing is conveying information and doing it well. And in my case, what I'm discussing here, doing it in a way that entertains your audience, it's very important. And we have to learn how to do it well. We have to learn to write right. Thank you. And I will see you next week with our very first real episode.